So this Eternal Evolution video is going to be a top 10 video of my heroes in Eternal Evolution. So we're going to go through from 1 to 10 just to get through the good stuff first. And then once I've gone through that, I'm going to rehash a video that I did recently on all the heroes that I've acquired so far in 2 months. The reason I'm rehashing the video is I went back and listened to the one that I put out before, and it had a double audio feed, so it's stuffed up somewhere. And I don't want to go and rip that video off and then trick people that have already watched it into watching it again on this video. So the new part of this video is going to be all brand new, but then we're just going to sort of rehash on what the other video was. And there might be a bit of different sort of info in there that I missed the first time, but it will be very similar. So watch the first part. Don't watch the second part if you've already seen it. So before we get into it, like and subscribe. And yeah, so the top 10 starts off with Leo. He's such a good champ. Uh, my justification for him being number one is his DPS means that he can solo content and pretty much wipe out an entire team by himself. He's got a huge amount of lifesteal, which means he doesn't need a healer to help him out. He looks badass as well. He's probably the best looking character in the game. You can also control where he moves on the battlefield, which can't be understated. Being able to move a character like this to the back one and wipe them out is a game changer. And then he pairs up really well with the Pain Rune and Gautier or Hagridon. So yeah, there's just so much utility for this guy. He can't be beaten. So next up for the top 10, we've then got Bailey. So even if you could get Bailey at the same time as you could get Leo, I would still pick Leo because his survivability is a bit better. But Bailey Hudson's damage is unmatched. I haven't got it built out enough to test him against Leo yet, but I know from watching other videos, Bailey Hudson will out damage every character on the team. Again, because he's displacement, he pairs up really well with Hagridon or Gautier, so he's got some survivability there. But yeah, it's basically for the fact that he can move to the back line, wipe out the enemies, mix with Pain Rune, he can stun the enemies when his shield breaks. So yeah, absolute top tier champion. So next up in third place, we've got Daniel. I was a bit iffy whether to put him in at third place because he is quite hard to get free to play, and I do prioritize Bailey over it. But I got him free to play because I was here for the Christmas event. So why is Daniel up here? Basically, his ult can lock down an entire enemy team for 3.5 seconds, and that 3.5 seconds is huge. Like by the time if he's in a light gap set, which is what I've got him in. Oh no, I've got him in attack again. But yeah, normally I have him in a light gap set, and that's just so he can basically lock the team down a little bit quicker than he can at the moment. And that allows my healers to get their healing off. It allows my DPS champs to like jump in and do a bit more damage. And yeah, he pretty much changes my entire team in regards to damage and survivability. His damage is also through the roof. But for the most part, he's my biggest DPS champ on my team. Only sort of outclassed by Emma and Leo. So yeah, Daniel, amazing champ. So going on to fourth place, we've finally got a healer. It was really close between Masrani and Serena, but mostly for the fact that Masrani has a really, really strong AoE heal and pairs up well, better with prototypes, in my opinion. Yeah, I've gone for Masrani. He's also got an attack buff, which isn't attack percent up or anything. Oh, it's not an attack up buff. It's a passive attack up for the real line champs or the highest attack champs in your team, depending on how you have them set up. And it also means that you can scale him. So if someone chucks on attack up, your real line champs are going to be so powerful. But yeah, Masrani's just scraped in as a better healer than Serena, in my opinion. So next up after Masrani, we have got Luke. Now my Luke's not built up because I was focused on Leo, like you know, is my number one champ. And then Bailey is taking my Gene Hybrids next, as he's my number two. But then after that, the Gene Hybrids will definitely be going into Luke. He's basically got a AoE like ult that reduces defense, reduces attack, does huge DPS, and yeah, absolute top tier champ to basically lock the enemy down from doing much damage and also making him take more damage. And I'm just going to do a shout out to a content creator here. So if you're not watching Play Horizons content, you need to see his content. It's top tier. There's no one that's doing better content than him. And yeah, his video on Luke during the Christmas event was insane. I don't think anyone could have matched how much damage he was doing with Luke. So yeah, Luke, amazing character. So next up on the list, and I'll explain to you why he wasn't as high up on the list as the others. But we've got Rez. So Rez is arguably the best champion in the game, but Rez by himself doesn't do anything. Like if I was going to try and solo some content with him, everyone would laugh at me. He doesn't do that. Um, he also needs some sort of survivability unless you pair him Rez with like Leo or something. So you need a healer up above him. So you basically need someone that does damage. You need some survivability in the team, and then that's when Rez comes into play after that. So what Rez does is he basically sacrifices his own ultimate energy to buff one of his allies' ultimate, or not buff it, replace it or replenish it. So that if you got someone like Luke who chucks off his AOE, no, his ult, Rez will then refill his bar instantly. And the more powerful Rez gets, the less energy he consumes, which means the faster he can replenish, say, Luke's ultimate ability. Um, Additionally, I think it's on his EX. He actually buffs the attack speed of a hero. So if you were to pair Rez with Emma, Emma would be doing constant ults. Her attack speed would be massive. She'd be maxing out the amount of arrows that she's putting out. And yeah, it's an insane combo. I have seen again Play Horizon do it, and it's non-stop. So next up after Rez, we've got Anaruda. So Anaruda is unique for two reasons. The ult that Anaruda chucks out basically sucks everyone into a black hole, and then at EX30 will actually have a 60% chance to stun the team. So you've got basically you're going to lock down half their team inside a black hole, stunned. I don't know what the stun time is though. The other part that's unique about Anaruda is the equipment. So it's it's accuracy based. So you're not sort of losing attack equipment from other heroes to put it on Anaruda. So early game, if you get lucky enough to pull Anaruda from advanced tickets, uh, yeah, you'll be able to use some unique gear, so you're not taking away from the other team. So yeah, that's number 6, I think. No, number 7. So now she's going to earn her place. We've got Serena, the other healer. So I was really torn putting Serena this low down the list because she is really top tier. But again, Masrani does the job better, in my opinion. So yeah, she's still in the top 10, but she's not up in the top 5. So she's really good for soloing, not soloing content, but solo tanking content in the game. Because if she's sitting in the front line by herself, everyone's attacking her, which means her ultimate's replenishing, and her ultimate is a single target heal. So she can basically take all the damage and then start healing herself up as she needs to. So yeah, really really good champ, and she does have an AOE heal as one of her passive skills in here. So yeah, she can use the she does work with the mythic rune as well, which scales with AOE healing. So that's Serena, and then next up after Serena, I was surprised he was this low down the list. He or she, can't really tell, can you? Bot Mark 2. So Bot Mark 2 is in there because his damage scaling ability, by decreasing the enemy's defense the more he shoots them, um, is super unique as well. So really good against single target bosses. So Decent Caves, even Sinsara Marsh. He can be used in Terradome as well. And then obviously Ancient Altar and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, very, very useful champ to speed the game up or get the boss's health down as quickly as possible. He's also got really good range, so he's got no survivability in the sense that he can tank, but he has got survivability that you can put him in the back row, and he will definitely be the last champion that they get to. So yeah, Botmark coming in at number 9, and again another champ that I'm really torn about putting solo down the list, but Ravenna. So Ravenna's DPS and AOE sort of fan shape attack that she does, if positioned right, can basically destroy an entire team in seconds. So yeah, if Luke wasn't in the game, essentially Ravenna would be much higher up on the list. But yeah, Ravenna's DPS is huge, and yeah, can lock down a team with her AOE skills. amazingly. Also scales with damage over time. So yeah, if paired with Luke as well, being an AOE decreased defense champ on a champ that scales with damage over time, massive. Anyway, so that's my top 10. Let us know if you agree with it or not. I've given my justification as to why. And yeah, I hope that helps. So for the second part of the video, what we're going to go through now is my champs that I have built out so far, being just starting off in my third month, and how important I think they are um, to focus on. So anyway, so to go over a few of the sort of, I suppose, rules of how I made this list or guidelines is the most important factor is how easy they to acquire. So someone that's really hard to acquire, like Pregor, is not going to be at the top of the list because it's going to be months before you can really build her. Does someone do the job better? So I'm not going to go and chuck like 10 healers as all my priority champs to build out because you don't need 10. You might need 2 at the most. Is there no one else in the class? So at some points in the game, the best example of this is a tank. Sometimes you just need someone that's going to really take that frontline damage to let the rest of the team do what they need to do. So Boar's the example of that. He's got quite a low score, but he's the only champ in the game that does what he does that well. So yeah, you'll see Boar quite high up. And if they're not listed on this list, so like Pregor matches with Champ Moriami, I haven't even gotten Moriami yet, so I'm not going to sit there and say how viable they are to level up because I don't even have a copy of them yet. So unless some event pops up where they do become really easy to get, yeah, I wouldn't. I haven't chucked them in the list for that reason. So we'll get onto it now. So the setup of this list is basically the top line is who I would focus on building first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then basically champs that are not even viable for your resources or your effort, basically. Next up, the 4 sort of stats I've given them is, well, arguably difficulty to build is the most important part because, again, I'm not going to put Pregor up the top because she's so hard to build. The next one is campaign. You would have seen in all my videos, to get as powerful as what I was, the huge focus was campaign. So campaign's a huge stat to be worried about. Then what you're really using these characters for is their ability to do damage in the dungeon and the events that pop up. And then basically adding all these together, the higher the score, the better. Gives you a total skill of where total stat of where they're at. What you'll notice that I haven't chucked into this video is arena, so PvP stats. You would have seen my other videos as well. I don't care for PvP. If they buff the rewards to make it more viable, cool. I might consider it, but I'm not going to waste my time doing PvP rate rankings when I don't care about it. So the other thing to note is that this is an order. So like this is just how I put them in the list. So Bot Mark's not my favorite champ out of these champs to build. It's actually Leo, but the top row is basically what you'd want to look at. You don't want to look left to right, just top to bottom. So Bot Mark's in there. He's not great at campaign. He's very easy to build. He's really viable in all dungeons. And when it comes to events, especially when they're single target boss events, he's really good. So he's up there with the 16. Emma, basically a step above Bot Mark 2. But her difficulty to build is actually, she's the easiest to build out of the champs because in week 2, you can basically get her up to Immortal for free. So she will get to Immortal before Bot Mark 2 will if you focus Emma. So Leo's next, like what you saw at the start of this video, he's the most powerful champ in the game, in my opinion. His difficulty to build is a 2. He would be like a 1, but because I would prioritize him in gene hybrids, I've just given him a 2 for that reason. He's top tier in campaign, he's top tier in dungeons pretty much, and top tier in events. So yeah, massive score here. Masrani, the same reason for Emma. Masrani gets used in all parts of content, and in week 4, there is a Astral Order event where you get Masrani up to Immortal for free. So yeah, Masrani's up top. Serena, you do get a few free copies of her early on in the game from the 30-day login. And if you're a low spend character or a whale, you can get Serena up to Immortal in the first week, I believe, if not the second week. Then Taylor, you get 1 free copy of Taylor early on, but he's also one of the champs that I recommend putting in the wish list early on as well. He does really well in the campaign early game, but gets outscaled once you get to about 30. So he's quite easy to build. He's super top tier in dungeons. He's on par with Emma for the most part, and he's pretty good in most events as well. So that is where I would focus my energy on. Again, this is based on where you get them in the game and where you would focus your sort of gene hybrids and your EX runes. So priority two to build is Bailey. So Bailey's who I'm building currently. Um, he probably will be at 5 in campaign for the amount of damage, but because he's not built out yet, I can't be sure. His difficulty to build um, is at 3. The only reason he's above Leo is he is a priority to use gene hybrids on, but also in the recruitment events, as long as you save up 700 tickets, which I don't recommend doing until you've finished. As soon as you've summoned 500 tickets on Mazrani in week 4, then you should start saving up 700 tickets at a time to start getting copies of Bailey. So I've got one Bailey from there so far, and next recruitment event I'll be getting my second copy from the recruitment event. So yeah, he's difficult to build as 3 because every month basically you get one free copy of him, and he is the focus for gene hybrids once you got him. He probably will. He's a 5 in dungeons and he's a 5 in events just for his survivability. It's huge DPS. Boy, you can see he got quite a low score, but he's the only tank that I really like in the game. Some people like Oak, and some people might like Hercules, but they don't do what Boar does. Boar's ability to throw the frontline champ to the back line, especially when you're going up against someone like Creep or Leo, is amazing. He also chucks in an AoE stun when he throws the champ, so that's pretty good too. So with Daniel, you would have seen him in my top 10 again at the start of this. He's number 3, but I got him Immortal free to play during the Christmas event. His difficulty to build is quite hard. Again, after you've done Leo and Bailey, he would be the priority for me for gene hybrids. But he's number 1 in campaign, he's number 1 in dungeons, and he's number 1 in events as well. So now we're getting onto the champs that you pretty much won't really need to focus on until sort of month 3. So Anaruda, you only get Anaruda from advanced tickets. And yeah, so by month 3, you'll have Anaruda up to Immortal. Quite good in campaigns for the AoE, especially once EX30. Yeah, you'll get an AoE stun in there. Difficulty to build is a 4 because again, by month 3 you'll have Anaruda Immortal for free. Pretty good at dungeons, pretty good at events. Artists, if you have an affiliate code, you'll get Artist, 1 copy of Artist free early on. You also get a copy of Artist from the military rank at some point. So you do get a few free copies of Artist early on. Yeah, not too bad in campaign. I did use him very, very early on in the campaign before I had Mazrani, just to help me tank some content. But yeah, as soon as you get Mazrani, he's pretty much out of campaign team. Good in dungeons because he gets rid of damage reduction from the enemy, and for the same reason, events gets rid of damage reduction. Luke, top tier in all the content for DPS and the debuffs, like I mentioned, but his difficulty to build is super hard. And yeah, you're now looking at being behind Leo, Bailey, Daniel. So yeah, coming in at the 4th most important champ for gene hybrids, in my opinion. Then you've got Randall. Randall's got quite a low score, but he pairs up well with Leo, and especially Bailey as well. So he can actually be useful for getting through some parts of content, specifically when you're going up against Rakana. You can build Randall to be a really good bait to basically destroy Rakana because Rakana is super annoying. And if you don't know what I mean by that, wait until you get further on in the content and you see how frustrating it is. But Randall is the best counter for Rakana. But also being able to jump into the back line of heroes and stun them once you've got Pain Rune and Gautier or Hagadon. I won't go into Ravenna too much. It's the same sort of setup as Luke. Really good in all content, but very hard to build. Rez, again, he's really, really top tier. I don't have him built out enough to really be able to test him myself. So I feel like he will move up in the list later on. But his difficulty to build is not too hard. You get 1 free copy of him every fortnight, pretty much. And yeah, probably by once you've finished 3 months of the game, you'll have Res to Immortal for free. But yeah, as I mentioned in the top 10 video at the start of this, he just helps buff you huge DPS champs. Senway, for me, actually would be up here, except I got Senway to Immortal for free during a Rise of Hero event. So and then also the Daniel banner. So he's really good in most content, and because he can drop like a little summon in the front line, he can actually also help your team tank in a way because it draws the fire away from the rest of your team, but it does some massive damage, and yeah, is helpful in all content. So now we're getting down to the Pry 4. I'm not really going to deep dive into it, but Crete is basically outweighed by Leo by a long way now. So very hard to build. Botta, there's just so many other champs that do Botta's job and do it better, to be honest, and also very hard to build. Hercules just doesn't compare to Boar, in my opinion. So not a focus, and yeah, it doesn't value add to the content too much. Harpunos um, can be a really good counter for displacement champs on the other team. So basically, it does like a little circle charge up ability, and if anyone does a movement skill into that circle, Harpunos will drop a stun on them basically for quite some time. Liran, really important early game, but as soon as you've got Serena, Liran's gone. So yeah, really good early game, but yeah, terrible later on, but quite easy to build. Nagrama, really good long range, long lasting AoE attack and can scale damage really quick, but quite hard to build and not very good at campaign. And because the ult's so long to generate up, it takes ages to get it off. Oyster would be really good, especially if you don't have Daniel or Pain, anyone that could stun, so Pain Rune with displacement champs. Oyster can be really helpful to counter Sorietas in campaign, but I've never needed Oyster to help me out at all, I don't think. Sorieta just outscaled by Taylor. So if Taylor wasn't in the game, Sorieta would probably be right up here. But yeah, don't need Sorieta. And now we just come down to the champs that I wouldn't really recommend. Nefane, my opinion will probably change once I got him up to Immortal and I test him out. But yeah, not a priority. And once this event's over, his difficulty to build will be very hard. He's only easy to build at the moment because we have an event on him. But yeah, so that's it. I'm not going to go into these champs at all, really. Um, that's how I would list them out. And let me know if you agree on that part too. And again, if you're watching this for the second time, thanks for watching it a second time. I'm really sorry about that audio stuff up. But yeah, I'll just be a bit more careful next time. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace. Bye.